NFL Preseason Overreactions coming at you here on Verts. I am your host, Harrison Graham, and I do want to emphasize that these are overreactions. We tend to all overvalue the NFL preseason, but I do think there are some things to learn in certain situations, so we're going to dive into that here in just a moment. But I have a challenge for all of you first. Shout out your favorite NFL team, and the team that gets the most comments on this video is going to get an entire video dedicated to that team. So if the Panthers have the most comments, we'll do a Panther-centric video. Bucks, Bears, Packers, doesn't matter. Most comments on a specific team we get, we will do a video dedicated just to that team. So get in there, get in the comments right now. All right, let's talk Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. And again, disclaimer, preseason, it is what it is. But is Bo Nix better than we thought? Because I got to tell you, I've watched most of his snaps through 2 preseason games, and I think the stats align with kind of what I've seen. 23 of 30, 205 yards, so not a ton of big plays, but quick decisions, good decisions, accuracy. You've seen a lot of good things with Bo Nix so far with the Denver Broncos, and I expect him to be named the starter any second in Denver. Forget the stats, though. I feel like, the preseason, again, like Sam Bradford, I remember, was a rock star in the preseason every year, and he had a decent career before he got hurt. C.J. Stroud was terrible in the preseason last year and was great in the regular season. So how much can we value this stuff? It's hard to say. But I do think there is something to learn and to be gained just by how a young player and a young quarterback in particular looks. Like, is he breaking the huddle? Is he making checks at the line? Are there pre-snap penalties? Is he avoiding those? Is he making good decisions? I feel like we've seen all that with Bo Nix, and a lot of the time it's just these situations are so different. Like, I think Drake May is a far superior talent than Bo Nix, especially long term. But Drake May has entered an operation in New England with the first-time head coach with the defensive background, a first-time offensive play caller in Alex Van Pelt, and just not a very good roster. Denver's roster isn't great, but they've got some decent little weapons. Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick's back and healthy. I like Marvin Mims. They can run the football, decent offensive line. And more importantly than any of that, you got to wonder if this is the Sean Payton effect when it comes to Bo Nix. And again, we'll judge this further once real games get here, but through 2 games, Bo Nix looks at least like a serviceable NFL starter right away. And it makes sense to an extent because the guy started 61 games in college. I think he had 4 different offensive coordinators in 5 years, or it might have been 5 in 5 years. He has seen a lot of different coverages. He's played in a lot of different systems, and while it was a little up and down at Auburn, once he got to Oregon, he kind of became more of a refined passer. And Sean Payton, I think, can get out of this kid what he wants to accomplish offensively. Get the ball out quickly. Make good decisions. Don't turn the ball over. Be an athlete when you need to. Like, he can do all those things. He can do all those things. And we've seen those things on display. And something he kind of got a knock for coming out of Oregon last year is a lot of those passes were near the line of scrimmage. And so, ADOT is average depth of target. And a lot of people are like, he doesn't throw downfield. He doesn't throw downfield. And yeah, the majority of the time in the preseason, it's been under 10 yards. But they're quick decisions, getting playmakers the ball in space. And when he's had to either use his legs as an athlete to throw or to scramble for a few yards, or when he's had to make a throw downfield, he's typically made it. He ripped about a 20-yard in route last night into the red zone that was right on the money. Like, his arm is not an issue. Like, he has good arm strength. It's just he's played primarily in offenses that don't require you to throw the ball vertically. And I think the Broncos are going to do a lot of quick game and, try to protect him a little bit. And when he has to make a play, go be an athlete. Like, he can do all of that. I'm not going to sit here and act like Bo Nix is going to be some superstar. But I think Bo Nix can work in Denver. I think he walked into a great situation with one of the better offensive minds of the last 25 years in Sean Payton. You already feel like with Russell Wilson out of that building and just the youth and energy of Bo Nix in that building, that Sean feels more comfortable, that this team feels re-energized. I mean, could Denver compete for a wild card spot? You think about that division right now. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to win it if they stay healthy, but the Chargers have a lot of moving parts. Justin Herbert's banged up. They got rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. The Raiders are going to be a disaster with that quarterback situation. Like, it's a reasonable division outside of Kansas City. You have a proven head coach, and I think a quarterback who can be serviceable as a rookie. I like what I've seen so far. I was not a big Knicks guy coming out of college, but I acknowledged when he went to Denver that it's a pretty good situation. They're going to throw a lot of quick game. And, Drew Brees is obviously a more dynamic downfield thrower throughout his career, but Nix has the arm to become that consistently. We'll see, man. If you told me 18 months ago Bo Nix would even have a chance to be a starting NFL quarterback, I'd say you're crazy. Now, I feel like he could be a solid starter for a while with Sean Payton. Again, it's preseason, but I do like what I've seen so far. All right, before we get to the Steelers' mess, and it is a mess with their QB situation and offensive line, we're almost at 2,000 subs here on Verts, 233 away. If you want to help us out, hit that subscribe button. We'll continue to plug out NFL and college football content. Got to release my 12-team college football playoff projection, plus get to our next divisional breakdown. So all of that coming up straight ahead on this show, so don't miss out. All you got to do is subscribe. Okay, the Steelers. It feels like the Steelers could be in trouble this year. I watched pretty much that entire game the other night because I'm fascinated by this Russell Wilson, Justin Fields situation in Pittsburgh, and it was ugly, man. Russell Wilson's arm looks shot. The offensive line can't protect. I mean, and Justin Fields, it's kind of more of the same of what we saw in Chicago. Like, the highs with Fields are awesome. He's evading sacks, scrambling, making throws on the run. Like, he can do the wow stuff, but he holds onto the ball too long. He's inaccurate on throws. He has 2 or 3 plays a game where you're just like, what the hell are you doing? And the offensive line, most importantly, which is key to getting a play off the ground, is just a disaster. Broderick Jones, the first-round pick from last year, who I still think is better at left tackle, but they've been playing him at right, he's getting whipped. And I know he's got a little elbow issue, but if he's that injured, if that's a reason why he's struggling, he's got to sit because he is not a starting tackle right now. One of their interior guys just got hurt. He's going to be out potentially for the whole season. Zach Frazier has been getting bullied in the preseason. Their left tackle situation with Dan Moore isn't that great. Troy Fautanu is hurt. Like, Russ can't escape like he used to. He doesn't have the arm that he used to. He threw a little dig route on the far hash. It took forever to get there, man. DB got in there and knocked it away. The Steelers got 1 first down with Russell Wilson on 5 drives. 1. I mean, just a mess. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's pretty. And Fields is clearly flawed, and it has not looked great. But at least he can move around. At least he can make some things happen. And maybe you just retool this offense where you're just a power run team, and you try to throw the ball 20 or less times per game, and you run Fields, even at the risk of injury. You run Warren, who's banged up now, and Najee Harris, and try to win that way and with your defense, because if you ask either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields to drop back more than 30 times per game, I don't think you're going to be successful. I think you're going to turn the ball over a lot. I think you're going to have a lot of 3-and-outs. And I know the Steelers have won games with just their defense in recent years, but it just feels like, especially with the drama and distraction a guy like Russell Wilson brings in, Justin Fields is a popular figurehead in this league. Like, these two guys are going to be talked about a lot on a national level, especially compared to a Kenny Pickett. I would not be shocked if this time next year the Steelers have a new head coach and a new quarterback. I don't think they'll fire Mike Tomlin, but I could see a mutual exit after this year. My preseason overreaction to the Steelers is, for the first time in the Tomlin era, they will go below 500, and it'll be ugly offensively. Both Russ and Fields will play at times. Neither will be the answer, and we might finally get a reset in Pittsburgh, which probably is long overdue, but they've overachieved so much with their lack of offensive talent in recent years. What are you going to do? Get rid of Mike Tomlin? He's a great coach, but eventually you break up. I mean, Andy Reid left Philadelphia. It ran out of time in New England with Belichick. Pete Carroll. I mean, guys run their course. It kind of feels like this could be the end of the road for Tomlin. Not because he's not good enough, but more just because they need a reset in Pittsburgh. All right, let's head south to Atlanta. What the hell are the Falcons doing with Michael Penix Jr.? The Falcons, after him playing about a quarter and a half of one preseason game, have said, that's enough. We're not going to play our rookie quarterback anymore, even though he's not a starter. This is the direct quote from Raheem Morris, their new head coach. Mike showed us last week enough that we don't have to play him in the preseason. What are you talking about? Like, I know Raheem Morris coached under Sean McVay for a while, and McVay does not play anyone of importance in the preseason. And for a backup quarterback, Penix is pretty important. They drafted him in the top 10. Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles. I get it. I'm not saying play the guy 4 quarters. He played a lot in college, but he still needs NFL reps. This makes no sense. There's no logic to this whatsoever, unless Kirk Cousins isn't going to be ready week 1, which there's no indication of that currently. Like, he's thrown 16 passes in the preseason, and he's got enough reps. This is puzzling. Drafting him was puzzling based on them trying to win now. Not playing him in the preseason is puzzling. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, J.J. McCarthy, I get it, he got banged up. He played over a half because they're trying to get him NFL reps. At least Drake May played a little bit more this week. Bo Nix has played like 4 quarters in 2 games. Like, and he's going to start, by the way. So if anything, you'd want to protect him. I don't know, man. I think that's a bizarre decision by Raheem Morris and that coaching staff. Speaking of bizarre, what on earth are the 49ers doing? The 49ers trotted out Brock Purdy with second and third stringers last night. No George Kittle. Trent Williams is still away. No Christian McCaffrey. Obviously no Brandon Ayuk. No Deebo Samuel. Ricky Pearsall is still hurt. And their offensive line is beat up and not that good. And they trotted out Brock Purdy in a meaningless preseason game without any players he's going to be playing with in the regular season. Like, what is Shanahan doing? What does he have to gain by that? Is this some like, hey, let's see how Brock can do when the circumstances aren't awesome around him? Okay, like if Kittle and Deebo were playing and it was no Ayuk and Trent Williams, I'd be like, okay, let's see how this looks, because there's a scenario where you don't have Ayuk and Trent Williams week 1. But you didn't play Kittle or Deebo or McCaffrey. Like, he's playing with like Danny Gray and Jacob Cowing and backup offensive linemen. Like, and he almost got killed a couple of times, and he's trying to spin around like Cam Newton and throwing the ball across the field, almost got picked off. I'm just like, I get Purdy's still a young player. I don't have a problem playing him in the preseason, but not if no other starters are out there. That's asinine. That makes no sense whatsoever. Like, he's a third-year player at this point. If you're not going to play the other guys, just sit him too. We'll see you week 1. There's no defending that if you're Kyle Shanahan. That was beyond bizarre, to say the least. And the Niners feel off, don't they? I'm not going to sit here and act like they're not going to make the playoffs or they're going to fall off a cliff or be one of these Super Bowl hangover teams that doesn't, that goes 8-9 the next year. But Trent Williams is still away. They can't find a resolution for Brandon Ayuk. They had to, pay up for Christian McCaffrey, give him a pay raise because he was going to hold out. And you're playing Brock Purdy with no one in a meaningless preseason game? That's a bizarre decision. I mean, luckily he didn't get hurt, nothing happened, but he didn't look good, and he played with dudes he's not going to play with. What's the point? All right, that's going to do it for our NFL preseason overreactions. One more NFL preseason week to go. If you want us to do this video again after preseason week 3, hit the sub button. That way we know you enjoyed this episode. My name is Harrison Graham. More to come here on 4 Verts.